Cool shoes. My brother would love those.
Ooh, I don't share my sources.
Well, I just found them using Circle to search with Google on my new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6.
What?
And I texted them to my brother on the other side of this massive screen.
Where did you get that phone?
Lucky for you, I don't gatekeep my sources. Tell them.
Get your own Galaxy Z Fold 6 now at Samsung.com. Requires internet connection. Results may vary by uniqueness, clarity, and framing of circled image and related factors.
School is back, and Dick's Sporting Goods has what you need to win your year. We've got everything from cleats to Sambas, dunks, and more. Plus, the hottest looks from Nike, Jordan, and Adidas. Find your first day fits in-store or online at Dicks.com.
And when it's short and it's condensed and the players feel like you're respecting their time and they're getting the information they need, then they'll watch it.
In this episode of Coaching Coordinator, we speak with Ryan Larson, the head coach at Carnegie Mellon University, who's brought his program to be a consistent top 25 team. We explore his innovative strategies for enhancing player performance through a comprehensive knowledge base that aids his players in learning and developing. Coach Larson discusses how the pandemic prompted this shift in the use of technology for recording their training sessions, meetings, and improving their player retention. He shares how organized video resources allow new recruits to catch up quickly and how immediate feedback from recorded practices allows players to learn at their own pace. We also touch on the logistical aspects of maintaining this knowledge base and the benefits of communication and efficiency for your coaching staff.
Cool shoes. My brother would love those.
Ooh, I don't share my sources.
Well, I just found them using Circle to search with Google on my new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6.
What?
And I texted them to my brother on the other side of this massive screen.
Where did you get that phone?
Lucky for you, I don't gatekeep my sources. Tell them.
Get your own Galaxy Z Fold 6 now at Samsung.com. Requires internet connection. Results may vary by uniqueness, clarity, and framing of circled image and related factors.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
On today's episode of Coaching Coordinator this season, we talk with Ryan Larson, the head coach at Carnegie Mellon University. They've been a top 25 ranked program since he's taken over, has been able to bring a very successful program to some new heights. And part of what they do is the way that they develop a knowledge base and share that with their players. It's something that he and I had an opportunity to sit down and talk with me and other coaches at a roundtable at Playbook Clinics. What was interesting, he also had a player there who I was able to pick his brain and say, hey, is what Coach's saying, is this valid? How does it work? How do you feel about it? So a lot of great information shared. And I think this has year-round application, but as we're getting into the season, it's an incredible opportunity to set your program up for success both now and in the future. So Ryan, thanks for joining me here on the podcast. I'm excited to get into this topic again with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So let's set this up and get a little background. As most things now that involve technology, a lot of this stems from what we had to do from the pandemic. And I know when that ended and we didn't have those worries as much anymore, a lot of people went away from it and said good riddance to it. But there's still a ton of application for recording and sharing meetings, protecting people's time, both your own, your players, your staff. Just so many benefits from the things we're going to dig into here today.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think maybe a unique perspective of being in New York City, being at Columbia, being at a place that even when the pandemic was wrapping up, it still was really looked kind of closely at. And maybe we had a couple more safeguards still in place longer than other places, but also being in kind of a high academic environment and guys having a lot of stresses on their plates from an academic and athletic standpoint, wanting to be respectful of their time, but also never let them feel like they were missing out on knowledge, and creating kind of that bank of sorts so that they could always go back to it and find the information that they needed.
And I think understanding this too is this wasn't just, hey, we're going to record some Zooms and we're going to throw them in a folder that you've systematized this whole thing too. So let's start with that and paint a picture of what this system looks like now for this knowledge base that you guys have developed, but continue to develop as you go through everything that you do in spring and moving forward.
Yeah. So where it all started at Columbia was I would record the meetings, the Zoom meetings I was having with the guys, just to have it kind of as a bank. And they were there. And what I started to hear from the players was just how much they enjoyed having them recorded and being able to go back. And once in a while, maybe one guy couldn't make it, because we were in different time zones all over the place. So that's like kind of where my head, the light bulb went off a little bit. So then when some of those things were taken away, we weren't allowed to meet with them. I was like, well, I can meet by myself and I can go through NFL film, or I can go through installs and record them and put them out in a protected spreadsheet to them, and they can digest it on their time. And then yet again, got great feedback. The guys were like, man, like, that's great that we can just watch it when it works for us. And as this kind of pushed forward, we were the only Ivy that didn't have spring ball before the 2021 season because of just restrictions in New York City. And so what could we do differently? And so we started thinking about our installs for the preseason of 2021. And we built out our installs, and I went through and recorded from the quarterback standpoint every install for the entire preseason. And the thought process was guys could start to look at it before they even got there. But also on a personal level, my wife was going to have our second baby in late August, and I had no idea when our second daughter was going to come. And so also knowing that I was going to have to probably step out for a little bit and be with my family. And our offensive coordinator, Mark Vavish, at the time, I knew he was going to take him in the quarterback room and be perfectly fine, but still hearing my kind of points. And so yet again, getting feedback from the players, how much they liked having both options. So fast forward into, CMU and coming here as the head coach, we're pretty strapped for time. We just don't have a lot of extra time with our guys. And the time that we do have, I want to really maximize it on the field. And so what we've done is all of our practice reviews are recorded. And the reason why we do it is 5 of our coaches are full-time and 4 of them are part-time. And so, for example, our offensive line coach is part-time, Coach Bernie Goldberg. So he'll finish a practice, let's say on a Tuesday after, late afternoon, evening, go eat dinner, go home late at night and pull up Huddle, pull up Zoom, record it and go through it all by himself, and then send it out to the guys that evening so that they have that late evening and all day Wednesday to digest that review before they go to practice on Wednesday. And so I think what this does is it creates opportunity for our guys to digest it at their time by doing it late at night on Tuesday or early Wednesday morning. If they have questions, they still have time to ask those questions. And then it's creating a bank. It's creating this knowledge base, this bank that guys can go back to. And so we use it all year. So whether it's spring ball, whether it's preseason installs, we're doing install Zooms, and then we're doing practice review Zooms. And that's creating a huge bank for our guys that players, college football's changed. They graduate, they move on. We bring in freshmen. Well, our freshmen have the ability to go back and look at spring ball, even though they weren't even here. They can start to digest it before they even get here. It's the same thing with coaches leaving. Coaches leave, they get jobs. We bring in a new defensive backs coach about a year and a half ago. There's a knowledge base already there that he can digest. So we found that it's been really great for our young men. It gives us the ability to put knowledge in their hands. And we still meet, just not every day in person, but there's that video bank for them to kind of bank on to have.
Right. I mean, this is application across many levels of football. You look at the college level, small college football, this applies. We always have, call them part-timers. They work more than part-time, but part-timers meaning they're not in the building with us all day. The high school level, we see more and more coaches that either maybe they are teachers, but they're not in our building, or they're not teachers and they want to be a part of it, but they have other jobs. So this has all kinds of application. But even more than that, and thinking back to both my days as a high school coach and coaching at the D3 level, you're still very limited on time. And just thinking about high school level first, I mean, it's 3:00. Our kids have been in school all day. We don't necessarily spend a lot of time in those meetings. I mean, I always did like to have short meetings before we went out, maybe review a couple of things, but I'm talking like 10, 15 minutes tops. You can't share a lot of information and maybe address everything you want to. And then really not practical to keep them after that, nor your coaches. It becomes a very long day. So you want to get them into practice, get them out, keep them fresh that way mentally. The college level, we would watch with our position groups. I think the other sides of the ball did it too, but we would bring the receivers and quarterbacks in, fortunately get that film up pretty quick and go through it with them. But they're distracted. Some of them are exhausted from the practice. Some of them need to study for a test the next day, and that's on their mind. And so this, I guess, frees up their mind space to be able to look at that when they can, when they need to. And the best part of it, too, is in a meeting, you can't rewind a coach, especially when you're trying to be efficient as a coach. You know, that guy who wants to ask a ton of questions all the time, or coach, can you go back one more time? Like, he does start to annoy the other guys. And sometimes even the coach, right? Because you're like, man, I want to get dinner too. So you can't rewind a coach in a meeting room, but you can when you have this database. And so it's good for learning as well. It allows you to make sure that everything you need to do is communicated. This doesn't mean that you're spending hours on this. I can't imagine that's an efficient use of time either, but it is going through and saying, here's some of the things we specifically need to clean up in tomorrow's practice.
Exactly. Like our practice reviews, I would say they're anywhere in that 15-minute range, because yet again, the negative is, yes, you are taking away that back and forth, that question, the answer, the back and forth. But what you are doing is being very concise and saying, okay, well, you're pulling up Huddle, you're pulling up the playlist, you're going through all the plays from practice, you're making the adjustments, you're saying the things that we did well or didn't do well. And so it is a condensed video. And so now they can find that time. But I think what's even more important, Keith, is like, you've done this, right? Now you're face-to-face time that you get the players, whether that's maybe 15, 20 minutes before practice. Now it's about answering questions. Now it's actually about directly, what do you need? You got the video, you saw the adjustments, you saw the things that we coached you up on. Okay, well, where's the questions? Did that all make sense? What do we do to take it to the next level? And so I think that that's the good thing too, is it almost separates it. It's like, okay, Here's the info. And then now here's the opportunity for me to give you exactly what you need based on your experience in practice, the coaching feedback that you got. And so now we can kind of push past that. And so I found that that's been really efficient. And we do it in so many ways. Like I'll record the scouting report. I'll go through the scouting report. And yet again, a great opportunity just to rewind, go back. What was that point on that player? What do they do in this situation? Because, when we present scouting reports, those are usually really like info dense, right? And tons of information in a short amount of time. And so that's where you can kind of go back. We'll do it for special teams, like little 5-minute special team review. I mean, special teams coaches are the ones that are always getting the short end of the stick when it comes to meeting time. Honestly, it's probably a big reason why we block as many punts as we do and as successful as we've been, is because Coach Simmons, our special teams coordinator, will put together a 5-minute punt block video. Hey, here's what they do. This is how we're going to attack them. Okay, here it was from practice yesterday. This looks good. No, we got to do this a little differently. And when it's short and it's condensed and the players feel like you're respecting their time and they're getting the information they need, then they'll watch it. And I think that's the paranoia, right? The coaches are always like, oh, I want to check that Huddle time. How long have they been on Huddle? You can do the same thing with Zoom analytics. You can look into all that stuff. But we've found that the guys, they do it because they know they can kind of do it on their walk between classes or while they're eating lunch, or they've got a period of time in the morning that's empty and they can do it. So I think that's a huge part of it too, is that respect of time.
Greatness hurts. It's 10,000 hours of hard work, sweat, and setbacks. The aches, the stumbles, the falls. Tylenol provides pain relief for the champion in us all. It's the #1 doctor-recommended brand of pain relief and fever reduction. This summer, when greatness hurts, Tylenol will be there with care to help you keep chasing it. That's Tylenol. That's care without limits. Visit Tylenol.com/greatness-hurts to learn more. Use as directed.
Yeah, and that's certainly a validation for what you guys use it for on special teams. You guys were number one in the country in blocking punts, and Coach Simmons does an excellent job. Gave a clinic talk at the D3 Top 25 clinic, which was just outstanding. So I'll put a link to that one in our show notes if you guys are looking to block more punts. I think even at this time of the year, that one's still relevant. The other interesting part of this, you talked about, and I think this applies to a ton of situations. Again, the part-time coach, your offensive line coach, not in the building. I thought the validation that came from that is you did have a young man, an offensive lineman, who was helping with the playbook clinics, tending the door and making sure everybody who was in that room was supposed to be there. But I asked him point blank, I'm like, well, we have you right here in the room. How does this work for you? And I mean, he validated everything things we said about, like, sometimes I got to get to a class, sometimes I got to study for a test. You want them to be in the right frame of mind when they're watching it. So if their mind after practice goes to, I have to get ready for my classes tomorrow, which at Carnegie Mellon, a high academic school, but that applies to really all of us who are in an academic situation, is that you want them to think about this and do it when the time is right for them. They can work this into their schedule as necessary. And like I said, it was great to hear from your player about how this worked for him.
Yeah, I think we talk a lot about most valuable resource we have is time, and time is a very precious commodity. We're in a situation where we truly get the nuts and bolts of our practice in from 5 to 6:30 p.m., about an hour and a half. We practice from 5 to 7 p.m., but I've got guys who have 7 p.m. class, and I got to blow a whistle at 6:30 and say, get out of there, go get showered, go get clean, go get your stuff. So we'll get the majority of our work done in that hour and a half. We'll get all of our special teams and our team reps and all that. But yet again, like, if I'm going to take time away from practice, let's say from 5 to 5:30 to have meetings, well, now I only really have an hour of practice. Well, now that's going to get tough as we start to lose guys to night classes at 7 p.m. And so that's where, yet again, like, just anything we can do to be creative in, maximizing our time for the guys, we do our best. And I think I appreciate, the player being there and validating it, because yet again, we're getting these things out to them late at night or early in the morning, so they have substantial time to actually digest it based on their schedule. And if we tried to get everyone in a room at the exact same time, we would have to do it at probably 7 a.m. before 8 a.m. classes start. And now you're cutting into sleeping, or you're cutting into times that maybe they have a lift, or you're cutting into whatever that they need. And yet again, it's just to appease a coach to say, I have everybody in the room. If they want to be good, they're going to watch the video. It's going to be very obvious who didn't watch the video. And there's some guys that still they need that one-on-one. And so they come up on a free period of time during the day, and we answer those questions. I think that just being flexible in how we teach these guys and understanding that they all learn differently is the most important thing. There's guys that have to do it. They have to do it. They have to walk through it. That's fine. We're just trying to find creative ways to reach our whole audience of players.
Yeah, well, it's the whole flipped classroom model, in you're taking that part, the football knowledge, sharing it out through the video. They're watching it and learning from it at a way that makes sense to them, and whatever they need to do to make sure that they've got it to go to practice the next day. And then using that time, quote unquote, classroom time, or that meeting time, to be very efficient and get those things answered, as you mentioned. I got a couple questions before we wrap up here, just a little bit more on, I guess, logistical type things and how to make this work. And when you're looking at, again, still the efficiency, I said, this doesn't mean because I have all this time now as a coach, I'm going to sit there for an hour and a half at night and record this super long video. What kind of parameters do you set up for your coaches, especially as you guys got into this and these are the best practices? This is how we should go about this review. And you mentioned utilizing it for different things, the game plan install. I know I went to this model, didn't use Zoom at the time, didn't exist, but utilized as much as we could with Huddle to that flip model. And we would even share our openers. We'd create a video with the cut-ups and explain, here's what we're thinking in openers here, whatever. So there's a ton of uses for this, but would love to hear, especially on the review side now during the season, what are the best practices in utilizing this to make it the most effective for you?
I think it's really important the coaches review the film first without recording. Yeah, just so you can be really concise on what you want to hit on in the recording. Not every position needs to watch every single play. QBs are probably one of them. O-line is probably one of them that needs to watch every play. But I think being condensed in it, or even just being able to say really quickly, hey, this play was good, going to go to the next play. So I think coaches reviewing it first, really, really important. Then second, sitting down in a quiet environment, one-on-one. We close our doors in our offices when we do it and go through it and be very play-by-play and have our notes ready from our practice script. Our review as a staff together, I think, is really good, just to be concise. And then from there, the beauty is, if you're using Zoom or you're using, let's say, like Microsoft Teams or something like that, when you do these recordings, you can set a lot of different parameters on it. You can put passcodes on them if you want to, that you would only share with your players. You can make it accessible only to your organization. So for us, all these videos and the Google Sheets that we put them in to share them as kind of a catalog that are labeled so they know how to get back to them, they only can access it through their CMU email. So I think those things help us as coaches feel like there's a little bit more of a safeguard, but it also allows the organization. I think if you just keep sending a bunch of emails, like here's the link, well, kids will lose the emails. But if you put them in a spreadsheet, in a Google Sheet, particularly that they can open on their phone, because that's the key. Everything you can do on their phone, they're going to get to. They can open that Google Sheet on their phone and they can see, hey, Tuesday practice review, Wednesday practice review, Thursday practice review from this week, whoever we're playing. Let's say it's Teal because that's who we open with next year. Okay, now that's there and they have that catalog based, it makes it so much easier for them to go back to it. And it's funny, Keith, like in spring ball, when we're installing, I can get on the spreadsheet. I can see how many guys are jumping on it in the morning. And like is the review up yet? Or is the install for today already up? Like they're looking for based on their time, which is just, it's cool to see. Like they're kind of in tune to now, hey, I need to get into that spreadsheet. I need to see what's available for me this morning to watch so that they can go digest it.
And then I think to wrap it up, this is really year-round learning. For coaches who maybe haven't been doing this is a great opportunity to get it started. I think the couple keys you mentioned, getting it organized as you move along. You do have the ability to, password protect things, as you say. When I look at this, every organization has a knowledge base. You're creating a knowledge base here. And when you do that, you're protecting the organization. So the knowledge doesn't walk out the door with a coach and then a new coach coming in. That even when you bring a new coach in who maybe is going to put his own spin on things or does things a certain way, he still has the ability to see, here's what we've done.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good point too. Like, obviously there's that change we talked about, but also this isn't just limited to like only the quarterbacks can see my quarterback video. The whole offense can watch my quarterback video if they want to. The whole offense can watch the offensive line video if they want to. And so it's funny, like I know that there's some receivers that jump on our quarterback film to watch it because they want to know what I'm saying to the cues and how the progressions look and all that. And so they're gaining that bigger knowledge base. We do some Wildcat stuff. I've done Wildcat only videos for the Wildcat guys so that they can yet again just go get those quick clips from practice. Okay, here's the Wildcat plays. I'm going to go watch it. That's like not even a 5-minute video, but sharing it to everyone. The defense shares all their recordings together. Offense shares all their recordings together. So that even can happen sometimes where maybe a running back or tight end can jump on the O-line video before the running back tight end video is even available, but they're already starting to get learning and going. And then to your point, you bring new coaches in, they can review it, they can look at it. And I think we as coaches, like when you're recorded, it makes you accountable. You're being recorded. So whatever you put on there, and I say this to our coaches all the time, like you're being recorded, it's forever. So make sure that we're really concise with what we do. Let's make sure we're professional. Let's make sure everything that we do, we're doing it because we know it's recorded, it's permanent to our players, and we want to make sure that it's clear and concise and it's going to help them learn the best way possible.
A lot of great stuff here, Coach. I appreciate you taking the time here during the season to share these things with us. Again, I highly recommend you look into this, even if it's starting just with a few things here for your program. I do think it will pay dividends for you as you go through the season. So, Coach, again, thank you for your time and best of luck to you and the Tartans here in 2024.
Thanks, Keith. Appreciate you having me on.
Here's our winning edge takeaway from this episode. I think the biggest thing here is Coach Larsen and what he's done at Carnegie Mellon has proved that doing something like this, taking the time to put together a knowledge base, will really serve your program well, both during the season, off season, and preparing for new players coming in. I think that affects all of us now, regardless of what level that we're at. I think the big thing too, as you see this knowledge base grow, there will be more and more things with AI that allow you to really organize this even more, taking transcripts from things and putting together your own bots that will answer questions for your players, that they could go into your knowledge database and ask for the exact thing that they want and get that answer. And I think that's so important to player learning and understanding and cementing the knowledge that you give them throughout the meetings and on the field, that they can have a resource to go to get some answers beyond what's going on in the classroom and on the field. So stay tuned for more of that. That's not quite here yet, but I know it's right around the corner for you to be able to develop those things within your program. Be sure to check out our partners, Vertical Raise, for your fundraising needs, Modern Football Technology for analytics and in-game decision-making, and Signature Championship Rings when you win the championship this year. Links and information to all of our partners can be found in the description and on coachingcoordinator.com in our 10% toolkit. Follow us on X at Coach K. Grabowski.